Well, Cody, Texas is off this weekend, but the action never stops around the Longhorns, of course. We have offers going out today. We have coaches on the road. We have some interesting conversations to have about the teams that are playing this week that have implications for the Longhorns and their quest for the CFP, even though Texas does indeed control its own destiny at this point. Certainly some things that could happen that could make things easier down the road or possibly give Texas a better opportunity if they do happen to slip up for one of these last few games. It is a final takes Friday, so we're going to talk about our final takes going down the final stretch of the season for the Texas Longhorns and how we predict these last three games to pan out for them. So a lot to get to today. First, though, we want to thank the Man Eye Institute, our great presenting sponsor. Give them a phone call today, 1-844-WOW-2020, 844-WOW-2020. Anything vision, guys. Man Eye Institute has you completely covered. They're all over Central Texas. They're all over Texas. I mean, you go look at the locations. It's more than you can even list. They've done it by developing such a great reputation over the years. And whether it's cataracts, whether it's LASIK, you got the next level LASIK that they have there. Anything for your vision needs. If it's good enough for Colin Simmons, lining up to get all those sacks and get the quarterback dead in his sights, that next level LASIK is good enough for you. 844-WOW-2020, our great presenting sponsor, the Man Eye Institute. See life better. And of course, you're coming into the weekend. We have to tell you about the Alpha seasoning. It's delicious. It's so good that Cody brought some with him to Las Vegas. Cody can't live without Alpha. I can't live without Alpha. I just got done eating lunch and I ate hard-boiled eggs with Alpha on them. It's a delicious lunch. Hard-boiled eggs by themselves, not that good. Hard-boiled eggs with Alpha seasoning, delicious. Go get it today. alphaseasoning.com. Scan that QR code and help us out. You can also, of course, find it at Texas Beef Traders, another one of our great sponsors here. Make sure to check them out right there in the heart of Lakeway, off of Loman's Crossing in 620. You always get 10% off whenever you mention Orange Bloods. All right, Cody, bunch to get to today. Legend Bay gets an offer. The quarterback out of, so he's out, I should say quarterback, because I say quarterback because I saw him at
athlete.
I saw him at Elite 11 whenever he was out there. He was out there with the other 2026 guys when I was trying to get my first look live at Diabel. He's from Forney, North Forney, is it? North Forney?
Yep.
Man, whenever I saw him out there, the first question is, it's like, what are they doing offering another 2026 quarterback? The first thing I told you and the thing I talked about on the boards after I saw him is I said, man, he's not the most skilled or polished as far as, being a quarterback with his placement, with his delivery, his timing, and all the rest of it. But he does. I mean, he's got some nasty to his arm. He has some nasty to him as far as just being a pure athlete, right? Freewheeling quarterback, completely inconsistent, fun to watch, changes his arm angles, his delivery cadences from throw to throw. Sometimes he sidearms it. Sometimes he three-quarter style release. Then he'll give you some elongated motion with some kind of deep moonshot. He's just one of these guys that you never know what you're going to get with him. And I thought to myself at the time, well, that's going to concern a coach because there's not much that's really consistent here as far as anything that he does as a quarterback at an event like this. And it really stood out during an event like Elite 11. But I said to myself, okay, this is an athlete with a hammer of an arm. He's smaller than you would like. But the other thing I noticed about him, the reason I said he was the most fun was because when he wasn't doing quarterback drills, he would run over and he would go run sick routes with the wide receivers. And then whenever they didn't need him to run wide receivers, he would say, I want to play DB. And he would line up and guard these guys. And he would make these one-handed catches whenever you would just think there's no way he's going to even be able to deflect that football because he's got such a ridiculous vertical and all this. And whenever I saw this offer come through, my first thought wasn't like somebody on Orange Bloods. It's like, what are we doing offering another 2026 quarterback? I thought to myself, man, what Texas is doing is they're offering a 2026 stud athlete.
Yep. Yeah. And I think the easiest way to just, to think about this is one of those guys that despite his size, so he's listed at, he himself on his Twitter account has himself listed at 6'1", 190, but the various websites have him anywhere between 5'8" and 5'9" and 170, 180.
He ain't no 6 foot, Cody. Yeah.
He ain't no one. So, but he also lists himself as a guy that runs a 10 200-meter dash. And when you pull up the highlight, he had dropped the highlight on November 2nd, so just a few days ago from this season. And it's one of those highlights that you turn on and you go, yeah, this guy can, yeah, he can throw the football a little bit. But I think the biggest takeaway is it's one of those highlights that you look at and you can visualize yourself coming back to in like 10 years and going, check out that Legend Bay High School highlight tape. And it's
Yeah,
just him.
because
It's
he just
quick.
balls, right?
It's his quick acceleration in short areas. It's the long speed that he can just create. It's kind of like, and again, not comparing him to this player, but it's kind of the trait that is like you create space by yourself. Like Xavier Worthy, when he would get the ball, I always think about that shot down the sideline that he took the ball and created the separation because he out angled the linebackers had good angles and he out angled him. He just beat him by speed. That's what Legend Bay has. He has that quality to create the space when space isn't there. So, when you told me that coming out of that camp, which generally that's one of those situations, as you obviously know, but just for the Gen Pop, it's like those camps, Elite 11, the Senior Bowl, Under Armour All-American, these different things where it's maybe not in pads. All-Americans generally in pads, but if you're generally not in pads, you're just throwing the football, you're doing things like this, it doesn't really get to show your athleticism. The Jalen Milrows of the world, Jalen Hurts of the world weren't able to do that to that certain extent. And when you got a guy that's so locked into just being successful and just being a teammate, just trying, and he's like, I'll play receiver, I don't care. I'll play DB, I don't care. You're going to see this athleticism. I think that obviously rubs
I'm
off
going to
on a
be
coach.
good at all these, right?
It clearly rubs off on a coach or an evaluator, and that kind of comes with that offer being shot out. Again, we're like 1 month out from signing day. He's committed to Tennessee. Ohio State's been pushing after him. It's pretty obvious why. I mean, he's had a pretty sick season statistically, and if you just turn the tape on, like I said, it's one of those tapes you're going to come back to and you're going to say, the Jadeveon Clowney high school tape, the who was the linebacker that played for it's a Florida State back in the day, was it Derek Brooks's high school? Like these high school tapes that you're like, they sit in your memory because it didn't make sense. Legend Bays is not, the size, he's not up there, but he's like a Wan'Dale Robinson type of a player. But Lamar Jackson was another tape that just like, he just did things that didn't make sense. I think Legend Bay is one of those guys.
Yeah. And I think it probably is a receiver offer.
I would say.
Because what do they have? Chris Stewart and Cohen Brown?
Yep.
So if you look at Cohen Brown, that's another guy that I've seen live. And, whenever I talked to him at the Rivals 5-star back in July, he said that the Texas staff saw him in the mold of Matthew Golden, a player who could line up anywhere, like both slot and outside, all the rest of it. But dude, Cohen Brown, like I think it's a good kind of balance with a Cohen Brown because at Waxahachie, he plays a ton out of the slot. I think that's where he's going to play in college. Whenever I saw him at the Rivals 5-star, he did have a little bit of trouble separating outside against that elite competition, but looked more natural inside. I just thought he's a real natural catcher of the football, strong, strong, inviting hands. You know what I mean? Intentional hands, really good concentration. So just one of these guys that just sees the ball really well, frames it well. Good focus, squeezes it right. I see Legend Bay as more of a guy that catches the ball, holds it like a loaf of bread over his head, does a spin, hurdles over somebody, and do you know what I mean? It's
What do you notice from this right here? You just made me bring it up because you said holds the ball over his head like a loaf of bread. This was his announcement to say blessed and honored to receive the offer from Texas.
Yeah,
that's not Vince Young. Right?
Yeah.
That's not Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, that's not Colt.
That's
Right.
That's Xavier Worthy right there in his announcement picture.
Yeah, it's just they're two different guys, but man, like I'm excited about a Legend Bay offer, and I think it kind of meets the mold of what Ketch has been talking about. It's like these guys that you're going to be recruiting at the high school level. Where's Legend currently committed to again?
Tennessee.
If you're recruiting these guys at the high school level, man, it's who aren't just the super. Tell me if I'm wrong. Like he's not ranked as like one of the top 10 guys in the state, is he?
I don't think so.
Where does Rivals have Legend Bay? I would be surprised just because of the size and stuff.
I think it's more of the. Let me see here.
I don't think he's going to be a dude that's you're going to want to command like Khalik Lockett or Jamie French type of.
46th
Yeah, but
in the state.
just he's got some freaky stuff to him. Just a super fun player. Guys really gravitate to him. You know, I mean, his name is Legend. So people, you go out there with such an alpha attitude. Your name's Legend. I mean, I think that I think it's a super cool offer, man, and I think it's one that they probably don't have to pay completely out the wazoo about, but you can get a whole lot out of from a player who has a whole lot of natural skills to him. It's a matter of, you know, how do you deploy him? And so I'm not saying that he's not a guy that's worth. He's not, I'm not saying he's not a guy that's worth a bunch of money or anything like that. I'm saying like schools probably look at him and they're like, are we gonna pay this guy a bunch of money? Like I don't even know where he's gonna play. Is he gonna play
Yeah.
corner? Is he gonna like wide receiver? What are we gonna do with him? So I think it's a cool offer, and
It's just one of those guys you just want to get him in the building. They want he wants to be on the field, right? He wants to play. He wants to compete. He's got the speed.
I'll bet you he's a killer returner.
That too, probably. Yeah. I mean, the Niblet thing comes to mind too. It's like Niblet is a guy that he maybe isn't doing the most offensively or defensively, but that special teams unit, that's where he found his niche. And they tried him on defense. They tried him on offense. I'm not saying that's what Bay's going to do. I'm also not saying Bay's going to be Xavier Worthy. That was just more of he put that on there trying to tell us like maybe they're looking at me as a wide receiver type of a situation. So I think the kid's got the burst and the acceleration in short areas and the long speed that, I think this is a big deal. And this is going to be one of their guys clearly that they're making an impression on. They also offered a cornerback today as well. So it seems like they're out on the streets looking at some of these 2026 guys late in the process.
Who's the corner again?
The corner is Josiah Vilmael, Vilmael. He's a 2026 defensive back, 6'1", 185 out of Fort Bend, Travis. He has in his bio, verified 4.33 40, 10.66 100-meter dash. I've not looked into him yet, but that offer just came out about an hour ago.
Verified by his dad with the old hand time, maybe. I'm always interested to see what that verified stuff is. All right, so yeah, a couple of offers today. We'll keep you guys posted with what we think about these dudes as they as the process goes on and as we get to watch more of their film and stuff. I have not watched the corner one bit, so I don't have anything to say about him just yet, but definitely interesting to hear about a couple of these things happening here on the bye week. And of course, Cody, we're getting a big cold front this weekend. I'm super pumped. I got a brand new poncho shirt that came in this week. I think it's called the Sanderson. It's the new dark wash. It's brand new. It's the dark wash denim one. Looks super cool. It looks like a jean jacket, except it's a poncho Western shirt, man. I'm pumped to give it a try this weekend as the weather gets a little bit colder. And I'm out by the grill with the TV on outside. And whenever I am out there, I'll be watching these football games. So are we going to talk about – but before we talk about those games that have implications for Texas, first talk about your prediction. We gave Anwar some predictions for his Sunday pulpit column that he was adding in about how we think these final three games are going to go. What did you tell him?
I kept it concise. I said I was kind of on my 2-1. I want to be lame and join the crowd. I think everyone's going to go 2-1. Personal opinion. I think that's chalk. I'm going to go 3-0. I told you last week, or I guess earlier this week, that my early feel for the Georgia game is I'm leaning towards Texas by 3-4. I said that earlier in the week. I like the Texas setup for Arkansas, and as long as they can get healthy on the defensive back end, I like the matchup against Texas A&M at home after Thanksgiving. I think that's a big situation. The ESPN FPI, for what it's worth, as we've talked about, all models just continue to love Texas for obvious reasons, and here comes Texas right back circling the wagons, head towards the top 12. ESPN's FPI has been predicting Texas 57% chance of winning that A&M game for the better part of the last week and a half. So I'm going to go 3-0, and they go back to Atlanta against Alabama.
Oh man. Okay. I could definitely see it. I think that's the second most likely. I think the most likely is the chalk, though. I think they're going to drop one of the two between Georgia and A&M. And I keep on wondering to myself, I'm like, it's really hard to go into Athens and win. I believe Kirby Smart when he says, "Dude, we have a team right now that's hard to kill," because they I've watched them and watched them and watched them and watched them every time. What do I text you? What do I text the guys and teams? I'm like, are you guys watching Georgia? What are they really great at?
Nothing.
What are they like? What is the on field identity of that football team?
Gunnar Stockton.
Is
That's what it is.
that hard to beat?
The thing, I wrote it in my behind enemy lines this week. They've literally trailed at some point in a pivotal point in each of their SEC games this year, except for Kentucky. And Kentucky just happened to be the one coming off the Alabama game where it's not that hard to get up for, right? That's like you just got beat, your streak's over. Now what you gonna do? And they just go into Kentucky and it's the worst team, and you know.
And I guess what you could say is you're like, if you look at the team and you're like, well, it's not, I mean, look, and I think Branch is good. Like, but you look at him, you're like, all right, well, where's the dynamic offensive playmakers? Where's the pass rushers like they had last year? Where's even the guys on the back end like they had last year? You think to yourself, how do they keep winning? And then on the other side of the coin, it's like, but they keep winning, and it probably means that they're focused on the right details. And you know what I mean? They're
Same can be said for Texas.
They're doing something right. So I don't know whether it's harder. Like my gut says that Texas probably loses one of those two games, Georgia and Alabama, because Texas has been anything but consistent this year.
Georgia and A&M.
I'm sorry, Georgia and A&M. But I kind of think it's more likely as Georgia, even though I just talked about how I just think this whole thing about being home that makes me feel more comfortable about picking Texas to win versus A&M. I just think, if you lose to Arkansas, the season's completely over. I did do the stupid all-state playoff predictor that still gives Texas like a 54%. It's down a little bit. It's still 54% chance as a 3-loss team. But I was like, what if it's wins against Mississippi wins against Georgia and two wins against Georgia and A&M, but a loss against Arkansas. And it's that basic. It doesn't change it. It's the same. So I don't know how the committee would react to that, whether it's like that one bad loss, those two big wins would make up for it.
That would be bizarre. 4 top 10 wins, and then you'd have just 2 donkey losses.
Yeah. All right. This weekend. So the games that we need to monitor as far as Texas is concerned is, of course, starting out with trying to kind of clean out the Big 12 a little bit here, make sure that they hopefully only get one team in. And that starts with BYU going to Texas Tech. How do you have this one?
This is an interesting one. Tech has a loss. Tech's loss came a couple weeks ago to Arizona State in Arizona State. BYU's undefeated right now. I don't see a path where a 2-loss Tech team is in a playoff over a 3-loss Texas team if Texas does go 2-1, like you said, and loses an A&M or a Georgia game. I just don't see a path for that. Like that doesn't – you couldn't convince me, even though BYU a top 10 loss, it's at home, and then your other loss for Tech, like I said, is at Arizona State, who's fine, but it's Arizona State. They're banged up, yada, yada. You look at the strength of schedule, the wins. If you have 3 top 10 wins in your Texas, I just think that situation rolls out better, even though I do think that Texas Tech team is really good it depends because again, the thing we know about the eyeballs with the CFP committees, they're going to say, we think that's a really good football team. They're coming on strong, yada, yada, but there's only a few weeks left to come on strong for Texas Tech if they lose this game. And that's against UCF and West Virginia, which is 2 of the worst 4 teams in that conference. So I think a BYU win here knocks out Tech from the playoff, and I'll take BYU and LJ Martin.
You take BYU, huh?
To go into Lubbock.
LJ Martin, that was who McShay was saying the other day that a bunch of scouts were talking about. Can you believe McShay, speaking of this game, he was saying that like all the scouts are saying that David Bailey's like the best is the best edge rusher in the class.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Pure pass rushing talent.
Right.
I would say him and
just wild. Do you think anything about LSU's playing Alabama, right?
You think they got the dead cat bounce?
Well, I mean, we always talk about the dead cat bounce, or at least the interim head coach bounce. See, I don't know. Do you think?
Threw it by. If this thing was in Baton Rouge, I think I might ride with you, but I'm not gonna. I think Alabama's gonna.
Oh, I'm not saying that I am. I'm just.
No,
I
I
mean,
know. I'm saying ride with the theory. Yeah, I think in Tuscaloosa, I think this thing's gonna be a not good.
so no shot.
No shot. Not a chance in hell.
I'm trying to think. What are the other? So and then does Notre Dame play? Is it Navy?
I mean, if that happens, that might be the Christmas present. That might be the Christmas present. If Navy is a 27.5-point dog, just decides, you know what, we're not in the real race, but neither is Notre Dame, and just takes them out.
What about, and then finally, what do you think about the? I think is the biggest one Oregon.
Dude, you know what? I put together a slip. We don't have to go through the whole slip, but I put together I'm in Vegas, obviously. I put together just a sicko of a slip here. 10 picks for the weekend. And there's a couple favorites on here. James Madison's a favorite. Georgia's a favorite. And then I got down to the Iowa-Oregon game. And I look at Oregon's schedule. Oregon's schedule does not run out very well for them. Like if there was a team in the top 10 right now that you maybe looked at and you go, that thing's got a little bit of fragility to it because they lost Indiana already, and they got Iowa at Kinnick. It's a noon kickoff, which stinks, but USC down the stretch at home and at Washington, and kind of a feisty Minnesota team that can box you. It's next Friday night. Oregon's got a tough run out. I took the Hawkeyes plus 6.5 this week. I don't got the cojones to pick them outright, but I think they cover 6.5 at least.
And then what about tonight? USC's playing Northwestern. Would it help Texas at all if Northwestern pulled out some kind of, what is that, Preston Stone up there? They pulled out some kind of rabbit of the hat to be able to beat USC when there are rumors swirling around about Lincoln Riley out there that could hurt Notre Dame and take away one of their best win. Could take the shine off of one of their best wins. Any possibility of that happening tonight?
Would you rather have the shine taken off a Notre Dame win, or would you rather have them just win and him succeed and stay at USC? Or if he loses, he packs his bags and he heads to Baton Rouge.